Hey, welcome investors and traders to today's episode of Unusual Option Activity, brought to you by the Market Option app. Today is April 11th, 2022. For those who don't know about unusual option activity is buying and selling of option contracts outside its normal everyday trading range. Our app has built an algorithm which uses to track trading data and find and flag some of these unusual options activity for you to follow and trade. So let's jump in. Before we get started, here's a quick disclaimer. This presentation is for educational purposes only, and this is not investment advice. So let's look at some of the past unusual option activity that we had discussed in our previous videos. So this one, XLU, this is what we had covered in our previous videos, and we actually decided to take a position in this yesterday. As you can see, as I mentioned, I always am trying to share what I'm doing with some of these options and trades in our Discord group in real time when the market is open, as the price action moves around. So we actually decided to enter these yesterday. As I mentioned here, I really like the risk and reward for this. Plus, there was some additional information that came along over the weekend, which I'm going to jump into it in more detail in a few moments. So we decided to actually enter these at about 75 cents yesterday when the ETF actually moved up more higher. And at that point, it just seems like a great risk reward to follow this person who was kind of trading these puts. So as you can see here, the stock has been trading, been in an uptrend, and finally our moving average is kind of turning around. This is our moving average cloud within our market action algo and our indicator for trading view. The algo also turned bearish today and gave a sell signal. It also passed our trigger that we had discussed about $76.05, and it actually closed today much lower at $75.90. So here's some information that I actually came across on CNBC Option Action Show, which airs every Friday, and somebody I really like their reviews and a good educational experience as well, to learn from somebody much more experienced than I am in trading. He is Carden Braxton Worth from Worth Trading, and his Twitter handle is Carter B. Worth on Twitter. So feel free to follow it. You will learn a lot about technical analysis from Carter. He's really great at what he does, and he's a constant contributor on CNBC. So, looking at this, Carter shared a few things. So, if you were looking at performance by some sector ETFs, S&P, Staples, REITs, healthcare, utility was on top the last 6 weeks. It has moved up about 17 plus percent. So, it's leading everything else. Again, when you kind of look at, can you overlay the XLU ETF with TLT and ITB, which is a construction ETF, and you can look at like this big divergence. It's actually everything else is kind of falling down, and this thing's kind of really breaking out with inflation among everything else. Another chart here, a 20-year Treasury bond relative to XLU, and you can see how the breakout has been. And for all intents and reason and everything we're kind of looking at here, it almost seems like it's running way ahead and running too hot, and it's a bit in often overbought territory, similar to kind of oil and other things where things have really run really high and they are finally kind of cooling off. So this trade seems to be part of that, and all this information kind of just helps reinforce why we should be looking at shorting XLU and playing the put side. So moving on next. So here's another one that we saw. Delta Airlines. We saw some call buying for $1.40 calls. They're pretty expiring pretty soon, but there's earnings coming up. I think it's tomorrow. No, it's a day after tomorrow. So these are going to really hit close to earnings. This has traded lower since we last looked at it. Even traded much lower today, but had really come back up, and we'll kind of look at the charts in a few seconds. So it had moved up almost like 144%. So these were traded around 34. We had an option to kind of get into some of these, and now they were traded at 51, and that actually closed at 44 cents. So you're really green on this Delta trade. Once again, be careful. There is implied volatility that is increasing going into earnings, which is also helping this call option kind of go higher. Once again, the open interest still stands. Volume is much lower than open interest, so whoever's in these is holding them through the earnings, seems like it. So here you go. Here's the chart we had discussed. There was this gap above the market, and it really took off. Not just Delta Airlines, but all the airlines were kind of moving up today, including some unusual option activity we saw in jets as well. Feel free to download the app, check it out for more information. But hey, we're on our way to kind of closing that gap. We haven't really closed it yet, and we have earnings coming up on the 13th. So before market, so tomorrow will probably be the last day to kind of get in before the earnings, or even take some profits. So that was Delta. Let's moving on. So hey, finally we're here. Today's unusual option activity. So let's jump in. So here's a big one, folks. We saw some amazing unusual option activity for put buying about 30 days out, close to 5.8 million in put buying in sweeps, so close to 10,000 contracts, way above open interest for $5.80. And I think SPY closed at 4.39 today, so these are still way out of money with a decent amount of time in them. Whoever purchased these is already up about like close to about 80 cents or so, from 580 to 652. Plus, we have a very big market event coming in tomorrow. We have CPI numbers coming in, which is going to be kind of gauge of how hot the inflation is continues to run. And that will move the markets a lot, including the preface of it already happened today in around close. Market really pulled back in anticipation of a higher CPI number. So once again, be cautious, trade carefully, but people are really hedging themselves towards the downside, as even Fed is getting a bit more aggressive in raising rates and tightening. So here's the chart, and one more thing, we actually left the gap up behind, so not sure if that's gonna come back into play tomorrow and kind of bounce if CPI numbers are good, because people are really expecting them to be bad and market's been trending down. Right now, the algo is giving a sell signal, so the bias is definitely to the downside. So here was a really weird one. that kind of showed up. NEE. This is a solar business, and we saw even though the stock was moving down all day long, somebody kept on buying these 87.50 out the money calls, expiring way out, close to 150 days to expiration. And this was just one of the prints. There were multiple prints totaling up to 5.4 million in premium spent towards the upside. Now the stock has been in an uptrend and it's kind of moving down, but this was really interesting to see. As you can see, I kind of included some additional screenshots from our app where you can actually analyze the ticker. Here's we analyzed NEE, and then we have widgets that show call and put activity by the hour. As you can see, it was really aggressive call buying around 10, didn't stop, no puts being bought or calls being sold. More activity on calls on 11, 13, 14, 15 throughout the day, just non-stop call buying. You can even see the overall sentiment based on like what we gauged in terms of calls being sold or bought, and it is extremely bullish. Almost 5 million overall in premium traded. So something to really watch out for. Not exactly sure what is going on here, but somebody is really putting a lot of money in this name and did not stop. As you can see, we're going to go into charts next. Even if the stock kept going down, they just kept buying and buying and buying and buying and amassing this huge position. And interesting thing was we didn't really even see people buying it as a vertical. They were just buying straight out, directly naked calls. So here's the chart. We're kind of looking at it on a longer time duration, and we're using long-term settings. As you can see, the stock is actually over 20 period moving average. It's literally testing that and bounced a little bit off that moving average. The algo long-term signal is on a buy, and the target is not too far. So it closed at 84. This person is expecting it to hit 87.5. I'm pretty sure they're expecting it to go much higher. But even if it was moving down all day, somebody kept on buying these calls. I'm hoping there's another leg like this coming up where they're going to try to break through 87.5 price level. So something to really watch out for. And one more thing, there's earnings coming up, not too far out. So looks like somebody knows something, or something is definitely cooking for somebody to risk so much premium in options for such a name that you don't really see a lot of option activity for. And this is for all those who are new, this is what really stands out as true unusual option activity. Now let's go on to the next slide. Hey, drum roll again. Today's $1 unusual option activity. Once again, disclaimer, every standard option contract controls 100 shares. If you didn't know, now you know. And so you have to multiply the value of the option times the number of shares that that contract controls, which is a $1 option is actually requiring you $100 in buying power. That's just how it is. So this one was truly kind of like a bit of a head scratcher, but came in marked as unusual in our app. Had some decent volume above open interest. We saw some multiple call sweeps once again here being purchased. Very frankly, I don't really know much about this company. All I know is it's a biotech pharma company, and they had some positive news around FDA for T-cell based cancer treatment, and people are buying these call options fairly cheap. They're close to like 65 cents. They even trade as high as 81 cents. And these are decently way out of money as you kind of look at the chart. So something really interesting that caught our eye, and fairly cheap call options uh, to kind of play it out and test it. So as you can see here, the stock actually closed at $17.05 today. It has been in an uptrend. We do have a buy signal. Moving average is green. It has been coming down, but finally it's kind of bouncing a little bit. I feel we'll see a little bit of a shakeout and maybe even a inverse head and shoulders before this can move up. I'm kind of setting my alerts and triggers around the $1.19 because these call options, as we saw, were I think way up to $1.25 strike. So the stock really needs to move all the way to here and beyond for these options to be valid. Now, great thing, you do have a lot of time on these options. Once again, sorry, I'm switching back and forth. We do have some decent amount of time before these options expire. So you have close to a month. So something really interesting in a stock that's been kind of moving up. Even though today it moved down, we did see some unusual option activity above open interest in volume at $1.25 call strikes. Once again, this one has earnings way in the May, so chances are somebody's kind of banking an earnings run up or some interesting news around or before earnings to kind of make this stock move really high and go to that $1.25 strike. So until it kind of changes momentum and kind of breaks above this resistance area, I'm not going to enter these. I'll wait for it to play out a little bit, and once it kind of starts moving, sometimes these biotech pharma stocks just shoot up, and if it just shoots up, it just shoots up. I won't be entering these. But something, once again, this is unusual option activity in a name that you don't really see a lot of option activity on a regular basis. And that's it, folks. Thank you for seeing our video. Please make sure to download our free mobile app in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. The keyword is market action without any spaces. You can also visit marketaction.live to see screenshots and learn more about our application, mobile as well as desktop, and sign up to start a risk-free trial. If you're also interested in our algo, we do have a promotion going on for early birds and early adopters to kind of get feedback on our algorithm and test it out at a much lower price before we start making more improvements. Overall, this has been great, and this is something that we use in conjunction with unusual option activity to see which direction the stock is and when is a good time to enter or exit a trade using the buy sell signals from the algo. Can get much easier than that. So once again, thank you for watching. I'm going to take a bit of a pause here for you to click that little subscribe button down there in the video, and even click the notifications icon so you can get alerted when we create these videos. Please feel free to comment if you have any feedback or questions, and also share these videos with your friends and family who you think can benefit from learning about options as well as trading options. And that's about it. Thank you for tuning in, and see you in our next video. Until then, please trade responsibly. The market have been very choppy and brutal Even if they go up, they're giving up gains in a matter of few hours. Gains of 1 or 2 days given up in a matter of few hours. So please trade responsibly and be careful out there. See you tomorrow and have a good rest of the week. And sorry, one last note is going to be a short trading week. The markets are going to be closed on Friday. Goodbye.